Welcome to the BuddyPet podcast, where we talk everything pet health and wellness with our own head of animal health and vet, Dr. Elsa Rutherford. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about a real big thing, actually, these days, is hemp oil versus hemp seed oil. And that's something that I know you know quite a lot about. So first of all, what's the difference between hemp seed oil and CBD or hemp oil?
So yeah, interesting you say that to start with, because there's so much confusion about the nomenclature, I guess, for this. So just to make it really clear, hemp seed oil comes from just the seeds of the hemp plant. So it's pure cold pressed hemp seed oil. And what people call hemp oil contains various different things. So some people call hemp oil it's the oil that comes from the rest of the plant and includes the seed, but it can contain some level of THC, some level of CBD and other cannabinoids as well. So the majority of people would say hemp seed oil is just from the seed and hemp oil is just the cannabidiol oil. So it doesn't contain any THC. So on the whole, that's what we're talking about. So hemp seed oil just from the seeds, hemp oil from the flowers and the seeds of the plant, and contains no THC, but other cannabinoids such as CBD. The main difference is that, as I say, hemp seed oil doesn't contain any significant level of cannabinoids. It does contain trace levels, but not sort of therapeutic or not proposed to be therapeutic levels of any of the other cannabinoids. So it certainly can't get you high, and it doesn't contain those other therapeutic cannabinoids. Hemp seed oil is all about the essential fatty acids. That's where the most of its sort of benefits come from. It has a really high level of polyunsaturated fatty acids, many of which are considered essential fatty acids. And it also has them in a particular ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids that is proposed to be optimal in the human body, and pretty much there in the animal body as well. Whereas hemp oil, which comes from other parts of the plant, contains much higher levels of various different cannabinoids, but the most common one is cannabidiol, which is what we know as CBD. And CBD and the other cannabinoids, they all work on something called the endocannabinoid system. Now, every mammal has an endocannabinoid system. It's effectively a regulatory system within the body. So there's lots of different cannabinoid receptors throughout the body. So that includes the brain and the nervous system, as well as all the organs and the immune cells of the body. And we as humans and other animals produce our own natural cannabinoids. So we have natural cannabinoids in our body, and these work on these receptors throughout the body to regulate things like mood, sleep, anxiety, fertility, all those kind of things. So CBD oil or hemp oil is all about that endocannabinoid system, whereas hemp seed oil is all about the fatty acids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely. Thank you for clearing up the difference, especially that both won't get your pet high, because believe it or not, that's actually a big concern for a lot of pet parents that we get at BuddyPet asking, hey, look, is this going to get my pet high? And answer is definitely no. So
definitely no to both. Yeah.
So I guess let's start with hemp seed oil. What are the benefits of hemp seed oil?
So yeah, there's so many benefits of hemp seed oil in itself. It's a really sort of nutritious product. So it, as I've said just now, it contains really high levels of these polyunsaturated fatty acids and that optimal ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-3 fatty acids are primarily anti-inflammatory, and omega-6 primarily pro-inflammatory, but it's not quite as simple as that. So on the whole, the constituent fatty acids in hemp seed oil are much more anti-inflammatory, so we have this huge anti-inflammatory action, which can have benefits for all sorts of things. So we're talking skin health, gut health, joint health, brain health, cardiac health, all sorts of things. The other, one of the constituents is vitamin E, which is a really powerful antioxidant. So again, has wide-ranging effects. And then there's all sorts of other chemicals within that hemp seed oil as well. So micronutrients such as vitamin C, magnesium and zinc. And then there's all these plant chemicals called flavonoids. And flavonoids in their own right have lots of really beneficial properties in the immune system, for anxiety and that kind of thing. And then there's a whole host of other chemicals, these plant chemicals, which have all sorts of effects. So as a whole, hemp seed oil is really good for sort of general support of lots of bodily systems.
Great. So I guess let's move on now to CBD. What are the benefits of CBD?
Yeah, so CBD, it's really exciting. So CBD has caught a lot of attention recently because it's beginning to be legalized in many countries and many states throughout the world as people are sort of revisiting its benefits. It's obviously not a new thing, but because of the stigma that used to exist about the potential for people getting high and not really understanding the difference between the marijuana and the hemp plant, it kind of got sidelined for a long time, and people are really beginning to see the benefits of it again, and it's really coming to the forefront now. And it's also, I guess, the other thing is it's sort of a more sustainable way of looking at things, way of treating a lot of things, to grow sort of organic hemp plants is a lot more sustainable than, a lot of the drug manufacture that we're seeing. So people are turning to these more sort of alternative routes for treating themselves and their animals for a lot of conditions. CBD has had huge success for its anti-inflammatory properties, its pain relieving properties, which is quite exciting, and regulation of things like anxieties. It really can help with those, and it's been proven with people. And there's actually quite a lot of really well performed animal studies coming out in CBD, particularly in the US, where it's been legal for quite a while. We're seeing really good outcomes with joint health, in dogs, treating things like osteoarthritis, which again we'll talk about in another video. But there's, I think, a huge wide-ranging application for CBD in sort of across humans and the animal world.
Awesome. So what health conditions or illnesses is CBD uniquely effective for?
So look, it's uniquely effective for is probably a difficult one. I'd say it's just more, you have to think of it as being potentially more potent. It's the potency is higher, it's at therapeutic levels. So we're definitely talking, one of the primary things would be osteoarthritis in animals. It's a really big problem. It's a chronic condition for which there is no cure. And CBD has had some proven pain relieving and anti-inflammatory effects in dogs in particular. So it's really unique in that sense, and with really minimal side effects. There's occasionally you'll have an animal that doesn't tolerate it well, but it's really scientifically speaking, they've not been proven to be any major side effects. So compared to a lot of drugs that are out there and used for these things, that is a really big one. Same with anxieties. We're just seeing a growing level of anxieties in our pets. And CBD has really come to the forefront for treating all sorts of pet anxieties.
Great. So when do you give your pet hemp seed oil, and when would only CBD really help?
Well, firstly, obviously, CBD isn't legal everywhere. So, and we'll talk about how in Australia in particular, you can actually be prescribed it, but you don't see CBD products sitting on a shelf for people or animals in Australia, whereas other places it is legal. So the legality is number one thing. So if you can't get hold of it, it's a moot point. But from a point of view, it's all to do with, I guess, severity of symptoms. So hemp seed oil, obviously it's a cheaper product, and if it works for your pet for more mild symptoms of gut problems, joint problems, skin problems, anxiety issues, you start with the thing that's that's going to be the most mild on the body, I guess. So hemp seed oil would always be a really good starting point for a lot of conditions as a sort of support. If it's not working and you don't want to jump to true drug therapy, that's where CBD comes in, where CBD is going to be that little bit more potent. Obviously, it works in a different way for many of the same conditions, but it's working on different metabolic pathways throughout the body. So that's where CBD comes in for the more severe cases, the more painful arthritis cases, the more severe anxiety cases, that kind of thing. So it's all about kind of layering. You start with hemp seed oil. If it's not working for that particular condition, then you can move to CBD. If that's not working, then you move to something else. Yeah, that's how I'd approach it.
Yeah, so yeah, you did mention that CBD you have to get a prescription for in Australia for your pet. So where and how can you get CBD for your pet in Australia?
So firstly, so it's highly regulated, and that will probably change with time, we hope, but it's going to take time. And so the only way to legally source it currently is through a veterinary prescription. So you have to visit your vet, and then your vet has to prescribe the CBD, and it has to be specifically compounded at a compounding pharmacy for your specific pet. So they can't have it sitting on the shelf. You can't just get it there and then. It has to be specifically compounded. And the important thing to make note of is that CBD in isolation, there's different forms of CBD. You can get something called CBD isolate, which is just CBD. And it's been proven that it doesn't work as well as what we'd call like the full spectrum hemp oil, so which is where you have not only CBD, but you have lots of the other more minor cannabinoids, as well as all of the things that are from that sort of pressed, that pressed oil, and they work better synergistically with something called what they call the entourage effect, which means that all of those different cannabinoids and the different sort of chemicals within that plant work together to make to give a much better therapeutic action. So it's important that when you do have something compounded, it's actually a full spectrum as opposed to just the CBD isolate.
Yeah, of course. So are you seeing more pet owners inquire about CBD in your practice?
Definitely, I think because people are much more, well, for two reasons, I think. One, I think people in general, there's a general movement of people towards a more natural and sustainable way of living, both for themselves and their pets. And so it sort of comes from the human side, and then it works its way down, and people suddenly think that they're treating their pet like a member of the family anyway. So by a natural extension, they're looking at ways to medically treat them and support them that are natural and moving away from true drug therapy per se. And so definitely there's that aspect. And I think with regards to CBD in particular, the awareness of what it can do and the potential benefits it has without any significant side effects is a really attractive thing. So I think people's awareness is very much there. And yes, we definitely see more people asking for it.
That's great. Exciting times, definitely. Well, thank you for your time today, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Fantastic. Thanks.